Dr. John Sheehan joins me from his Blackpool Bridge surgery. John, good morning.
Morning, Neil.
So, in spite of what we're being told from the national narrative in RTE, it's not as clear-cut as, okay, all 85-year-olds, this is the week you're going to get vaccinated, or next week, or the week after for that matter. What's going on?
Yeah, it is good news, but it will be over the next 3 weeks that all the 85-year-olds will be vaccinated. And it's slightly frustrating, Neil, in that all our patients are very eager to get the vaccine. We're itching to go, but we're not getting a delivery of the vaccine for a couple of weeks. So until we get the vaccine, we can't give it out. And as soon as we get it, it'll be flying out the door to our 85-year-olds. We rang them last week and we have them all lined up and ready to go. So what will happen is all the over 85s will be vaccinated, but it will be over the next 3 weeks. And I think people naturally have their hopes up that they're all going to get it this week, and they're not. And that's the reality. It will be over the next 3 weeks. This is a big thing. Numbers are going up. I mean, they're hoping to vaccinate 80,000 people this week, 40,000 in nursing homes. They'll start vaccinating the over 85s, and then the healthcare frontline staff as well. So the numbers of people being vaccinated are beginning to ratchet up. But it's frustratingly slow, Neil, I have to be honest with you.
The vast majority of vaccines that we've been doling out here are the Pfizer-BioNTech, so that's a good thing, right? At least.
It is, yeah. And
nearly 250,000 of them.
Yeah, it'll be the Pfizer-BioNTech and the Moderna. We have very small numbers of the Moderna vaccine. So it'll be those two vaccines for the over 85s. For other age groups and for frontline healthcare workers who haven't got a first dose of the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine, it'll be the AstraZeneca vaccine that'll be...
So talk a little bit about this worry about the AstraZeneca vaccine and the elderly, because I actually met some elderly people last week who said that they were very slow to take a vaccine because they feel, firstly, there was all of the press about AstraZeneca, and secondly, that it hadn't been trialled enough. It's been released too quickly.
Yeah, the issue with the AstraZeneca vaccine is when they did the trials, they didn't include very high numbers of older people, and that was the difficulty. So they've shown that it works, but they've shown that it works in people over 70, and they haven't the numbers to show that it works in people over 70. So therefore, the evidence was there for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. So the European the agency and the HSE decided to go with that for the over 70s, and I think that was the correct decision.
Yeah.
Now, I think what will happen over the next couple of months is the evidence will start emerging for AstraZeneca for over 70 because so many people have been vaccinated and they're doing those studies. But it was the right decision. You know, if you have one vaccine with the evidence to show that it works and another, we think it works, but the evidence isn't there, why not go with the one with the evidence?
Do you have any exasperation at all at the numbers in the UK where 15 million have been vaccinated? They are now moving on this week to the 65 pluses. And here we are across the Irish Sea still talking about moving towards the 85 pluses.
Oh, it is very frustrating when you see that. I mean, fair play to them. They were about a month ahead in terms of the European Medicines Agency approval, getting the vaccine out there and things like that. Now, if you look at the other European countries, we're about mid-level, but you just want to get it out there. You know, patients want it, the over 85s want it, the over 70s want it. We get phone calls every day from our practice. We'll tell them, we'll ring you, there's no need to ring us, we have you on the list, but we just want to get the vaccine and we just want to get it out there.
And who will get it first? Is it the bigger practices, I'm told? Something in the... It depends how many 85 pluses you have on your books, is it?
That's right. So what they decided, because they have a limited number of vaccines, they're giving the practices with over 85-year-olds. They're targeting those practices first. There's about 100 of them. So they're getting the vaccine first this week. Then they're working their way down to all the other practices. And there's a cold chain delivery. We've all done online webinars and have meetings and Zooms about it. So we're all ready to go. So gradually over the next 2 to 3 weeks, it will roll out. But for some of us, myself included, it might be 2 weeks before we get the vaccine.
You see that? I know you're saying 2 weeks, but Dr. Nick says he won't be administrating the vaccine until the first week in March. So is that the 2 weeks you're talking about?
Yeah.
That there are only 6,000 doses available.
They said within the next 3 weeks that all the over 85s will get a first dose, and it depends on when your delivery date is scheduled.
But did you see the papers this morning saying that Stephen Donnelly is saying we'll still be vaccinating people next year?
We
for the first
will,
time.
yeah, and at the rating, unless the numbers go up. Now, there's a few other vaccines coming down the track. The Johnson & Johnson one looks quite promising, and so I think as the numbers start ratcheting up, then that'll make a big difference. And I think that's really going to happen probably about 6 weeks' time, that you'll see a big sort of increase in the numbers being vaccinated.
But for now, it seems to be the bigger practices, for instance, and everything is relative to where we live, because I hear of one Cork practice, Blackrock Hall, which has a number of different doctor surgeries, don't they? It's like a co-op, I think.
They do indeed, yeah.
So they're starting the vaccine rollout today because they're the biggest practices. But what about, single doctors in say, rural areas of West Cork, for instance?
Well, if they have to have 200 over 70s, and the logic of that, Neil, was that they don't want to waste any doses of the vaccine. So if you have less than that, you kind of buddy up with a bigger practice. But the reality is, this week they're just starting with the big practices. They're the only ones getting it this week, and the rest of us then will be getting it in the next 2 weeks after that.
And is that simply because there aren't enough to go round?
Yeah,
okay.
Supply is the only issue. We're all ready to go. We've everything ready to go. If I got it this morning, I could give it out this morning.
And when will you take delivery of it?
We think it'll probably be 2.5 weeks' time, unfortunately.
You see,
unless things change.
Yeah, and that's the case for the vast majority of 85's. Yeah. Then in smaller practices, they have a number of weeks yet to wait.
They do. That's the reality. Now, this might change. Every week it changes. It may change. They may get more vaccine and give it out to us sooner. But currently, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, this is far from a very concise, orchestrated rollout in huge numbers. We're still at the dribs and drabs, though, aren't we?
Well, we know the plan. We know the roadmap. Everyone's ready to give it. It's a pure supply issue. So once the supply hits, everything else is ready to go.
Okay.
And it's a pure supply.
And just two further thoughts, this is just off the top of my head. Do you have any elderly people who are refusing it because they're worried about it?
Not so far, no. They've all we've rang all over 85's, their families, and the vaccine uptake actually has been very, very good, and for obvious reasons, because they know people who've got COVID. The single biggest risk factor for COVID is from dying from COVID, unfortunately, is age. So it's in that age group that they're aware of people who may have got it. So certainly they're very keen to get the vaccine and to get their lives back.
I believe Joe Duffy on Friday was talking about doctors who were refusing to give the vaccine. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I heard the media reports on that.
Well, one doctor anyway, I think, in fairness.
Yeah, I can't understand that. I have to be perfectly honest with you. And certainly, if you don't want to give it for whatever reason, I think you have an obligation to direct your patients to a practice so that they can access it.
Okay, and just very finally, then, the medics, like your good self, or nurses, I'm not quite sure, is it just GPs can give this vaccination? Will you guys be vaccinated ahead of all of that?
We will, yeah. So most GPs have been vaccinated already. I got it in the South Infirmary a week or so ago, and then a lot of them, 3,000 doctors and nurses, were vaccinated this weekend at 4 centres throughout the country, in Dublin, Galway, and Portlaoise. So they're vaccinating the vaccinators first. That's the first.
Okay. And are we? I know I keep throwing questions at you. My apologies. Are we finished vaccinating nursing homes? Has everybody in a nursing home now got at least the first jab?
Yeah, most of them, they're on the second jab now. So I'm speaking to you from Farnley Nursing Home, where they're getting their second jab this morning. So they're hoping to do 40,000 second jabs in nursing homes this week. Okay, so that's some of the priority still is nursing homes, and that's why there's a limited supply for 85 pluses at the moment. Correct, yeah. Gotcha. I'll let you get on, John. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Bye. A lot of questions. Appreciate you taking the time. Dr. John Sheehan, Blackpool Bridge Surgery.